Hi, this is Boss City. I'm Brian, and I'm your host for a look at when TV shows go to the movies. Batman debuted in January of 1966. It aired twice a week on ABC. Its imagination, cleverness, humor, and style made it an overnight sensation, propelling the nation into Batmania. That summer, Fox released Batman, the movie, starring Adam West, Burt Ward, and four arch criminals from the TV series: the Joker, the Riddler, Penguin, and an alternate Catwoman. The initial 1966 press releases announcing the film boasted that the villains would be played by the TV actors. But before filming began, it was announced that Julie Newmar would not be reprising her role as Catwoman and would be replaced by Lee Meriwether. Among Bat fans, there is much speculation as to why Miss Newmar dropped out. The two most common theories are that she had a back injury and couldn't work, or that she was unavailable due to other commitments. In my research, I found out that for some reason the start date for the filming was delayed a week and that Lee Meriwether was hired just 2 days before shooting started. So it probably wasn't because Newmar was busy. And if you happen to know why, Bat fans watching, please let me know in the comments. So the resulting film is a fun movie that captured a lot of what made the show so entertaining. And there is a hilarious scene with Batman trying to dispose of a giant bomb on a busy pier. Adam West knew that in the summer of 1966 there was no way Fox could release a Batman movie without him. So he asked for and received more than double the salary they originally offered. Thinking ahead to a post-Batman career, he demanded a certain amount of screen time as Bruce Wayne out of the cape and cowl. In 1968, after 2 years of chart-topping records and sold-out concerts, the Monkees, Davy Jones, Micky Dolenz, Mike Nesmith, and Peter Tork wrapped filming the second and final season of their NBC TV series. They immediately began shooting a feature film for Columbia Pictures. The result was Head, written by Jack Nicholson and Bob Rafelson and directed by Rafelson. It is by far the most bizarre movie derived from a TV show and could not have been less like the TV series. The surreal film is a psychedelic examination of fame and the Monkees phenomenon, told through a series of unrelated, peculiar vignettes interspersed with Monkee songs. Victor Mature and Annette Funicello lead a lineup of odd casting choices. The film disappeared from theaters almost immediately and has since become a cult classic and required viewing for film students, even garnering a remastered re-release on the esteemed Criterion Collection. I first saw Head when it debuted on television on the CBS Late Night Movie in 1974. The confusion and bewilderment in my 12-year-old mind plagued me for years. TV's first primetime animated series, The Flintstones, made the leap from the small screen to the big screen soon after their ABC series left the air in the summer of '66. The Columbia Pictures film, The Man Called Flintstone, featured the voice cast from the series: Alan Reed, Mel Blanc, Gene Vanderpyle, and Jerry Johnson as the Flintstones and the Rubbles. Besides spoofing the spy craze, this colorful movie is also a musical boasting 7 original songs. The movie poster spoofs the Our Man Flint poster with Fred in the same pose as James Coburn. The film suffers because it's almost a Fred Flintstone solo film, with his interactions with the other characters just not prominent. The Munsters, CBS's clever and silly Monsters as a Family comedy, aired for 2 seasons. And just days after the series wrapped, almost all of the TV cast began shooting the feature Munsters Go Home. Fred Gwynne, Al Lewis, Yvonne DiCarlo, and Butch Patrick all made the leap. And over the impassioned objections of Gwynne and Lewis, Universal replaced Marilyn, Pat Priest, with Universal's starlet of the moment, Debbie Watson. The feature film was set in London, but filmed at Universal Studios. One might ask, why are you making a feature film of a series that only lasted 2 seasons and had been canceled? Well, the belief at the time was that a feature film would help sell the show's reruns in syndication and help sell the show internationally. And the film did all right at the box office with a nearly $4 million take. And America also discovered for the first time that Herman was indeed green. Moderate to low ratings plagued Star Trek during its 3-season run that ended in 1969. A huge audience immediately embraced the series and syndicated reruns, which led to fan conventions, an animated series, and plans for a live-action revival series. But the box office success of Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind motivated Paramount execs to forget the new series and greenlight a journey to the big screen for the crew of the Enterprise. Star Trek the Motion Picture reunited William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and DeForest Kelley, and the rest of the TV cast in 1979. This big-budget film garnered only mixed reviews, as special effects dominated the screen at the expense of the action, humor, and heart that made the series so loved. Star Trek the Motion Picture grossed enough to keep the franchise alive, and thanks to the creative guidance of Nicholas Meyer, Harve Bennett, and Leonard Nimoy, 5 lower-budgeted films, all closer to the tone of the original series, followed. The 1965 series Get Smart became the basis for the 1980 feature film The Nude Bomb. Don Adams returned to his role as Maxwell Smart. However, Adams, along with Robert Carvallis as Larrabee, were the only actors to reprise their roles. The film was originally produced as a TV movie, but was released in theaters instead. Without any of the other characters that helped make the show a classic, the film didn't have a chance. There was no 99, no Chief, and no Siegfried. Instead of being clever, this silly film is only sporadically amusing. Andrea Howard and Sylvia Crystal co-starred. The first TV show to appear at the local cinema was Dragnet, starring Jack Webb and Ben Alexander as their TV characters, Sergeant Joe Friday and Officer Frank Smith. Also along for the ride were Jack Webb's repertory company of actors that populated all of his series. This 1954 movie was filmed in color and directed by Jack Webb. It was released while the TV series and the radio series from which the TV series was based were both still airing. The tone of this movie was grittier than the TV series. Unlike the series, the film used the inverted detective story format, where at the beginning of the film, viewers see the commission of the murders and watch the detectives gather clues to solve the crime. This is Dragnet at a level never reached by the series. Universal drafted the crew of the black and white 60s sitcom McHale's Navy for the big screen in 2 color feature films during the run of the series. Universal released the first film, also entitled McHale's Navy, in 1964 between the 2nd and 3rd seasons. It starred the TV cast, including Ernest Borgnine, Tim Conway, and Joe Flynn, and the supporting TV cast. It was directed by series producer Edward Montaigne. If you like the series, you'll like the film. And it was profitable enough to warrant another hitch with the crew the following year with McHale's Navy Joins the Air Force. Now, the most notable thing about this second film is that McHale's not in it. Yeah, a McHale's Navy movie with no McHale. How did that happen? Well, there are multiple stories, but from what I can determine, Borgnine wanted more money than the studio was willing to give him for the sequel. So he refused to sign on. So that is the reason why Tim Conway has the lead role in the McHale's Navy feature film. The TV series Police Squad, starring Leslie Nielsen, was very funny and very short-lived. Its 6 episodes make it the least successful series in this video. The 1982 series was from the writing and directing team behind the Airplane film. 6 years later, Police Squad was promoted to the big screen in Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. Leslie Nielsen returned, but all the other roles were recast. Priscilla Presley, George Kennedy, and O.J. Simpson co-starred. The Airplane style of nonstop puns, gags, and jokes seemed to work better on the big screen. The film was a huge hit and led to 2 sequels. The Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear in 1991, and Naked Gun 33 1/3, The Final Insult in 1994. A 2025 reboot has no participation from anyone connected to the original series or film. The Muppet Show ran in first-run syndication for 5 years beginning in 1976. Airing at 7:30 in most cities, Kermit, Miss Piggy, and all their Muppet cohorts made their way into America's heart. Between the 3rd and 4th seasons, the whole gang made their theatrical debut in The Muppet Movie in 1979. This buddy comedy road picture featuring the Muppets' origin story was directed by James Frawley, at the time best known for directing most of the Monkees TV episodes. The Muppet Movie was a big hit commercially and critically. 5 more Muppet films were produced by Jim Henson's company, featuring most of the original Muppet performers. Craig Stevens played the suave private eye Peter Gunn in the series Peter Gunn for 3 seasons on ABC and then CBS. Henry Mancini's cool jazz music from the show topped the charts and won an Album of the Year Grammy. 6 years later, Stevens reprised his role in the Paramount Pictures film Gunn. Series co-stars Lola Albright and Herschel Bernardi were not included as their roles were recast. Series creator Blake Edwards directed and co-wrote the film with William Peter Blatty, who later wrote the novel The Exorcist and the film adaptation. Edward Asner, the future Lou Grant, co-stars along with Sherry Jackson from Make Room for Daddy. And she made news with her role because the international version of the film includes a scene where she appears partially nude. That's quite provocative for Danny Thomas's little girl. The controversy emerged just as the Make Room for Daddy cast were working on a reunion special. Jackson was not included. Starting in 1949, "Who was that masked man?" was the frequent cry as the Lone Ranger helped to bring justice to the Old West in 221 TV episodes. The series featured Clayton Moore and Jay Silverhills as the Lone Ranger and Tonto over 9 years on ABC TV. A year before the TV series left the air, Moore and Silverhills galloped onto the big screen with the 1956 film The Lone Ranger. Reviews at the time were generally positive. The film was successful enough for the duo to return 2 years later to battle evil again in The Lone Ranger and the Lost City of Gold. They then rode off into the sunset. The ABC series Twin Peaks arrived with much fanfare and huge ratings in 1990. The unusual series from David Lynch and Mark Frost was at times captivating and intriguing, and at other times strange, surreal, and confusing. The show's day in the sun was brief as the ratings started sliding almost immediately and plummeted in season 2. A small but loyal cult following prompted David Lynch to bring the show to the movies with Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me in 1992. Many of the cast made the jump to the cinema, including Kyle MacLachlan, Cheryl Lee, Machen Amick, Dana Ashbrook, and Ray Weiss. Several other cast members filmed scenes for the film, but they were left on the cutting room floor. Musicians Chris Isaak and David Bowie had prominent roles in this critically drubbed prequel. This extremely intense psychological horror film hardly resembled the series and was largely ignored by moviegoers. In recent years, cinephiles have held the film in much higher regard and consider it one of Lynch's major works. The Jetsons, Hanna-Barbera's primetime follow-up to the Flintstones, debuted in 1962. lasting a single season before the reruns became a mainstay on Saturday mornings. The beloved space-age animated series had to wait 28 years for its chance at box office glory. 1990's Universal film, Jetsons the movie, arrived with most of the original cast included. Sadly, Dawes Butler, the voice of Elroy Jetson, passed away before recording began. Both George O'Hanlon, George, and Mel Blanc, Mr. Spacely, were ailing, but were able to complete most of their principal voice recording before passing away during the production. Jean Vanderpyle, Rosie, Don Messick, Astro, Penny Singleton, Jane, and Janet Waldo, Judy, recorded their voices for their characters. However, teen recording star Tiffany was tabbed to perform 3 original songs for the soundtrack. And in the name of corporate synergy, Universal execs demanded that Janet Waldo's vocal performance as Judy Jetson be replaced with Tiffany's voice. And nothing against Tiffany, but she didn't sound like Judy Jetson. Well, the film flopped at the box office, and in the eyes of critics, Roger Ebert listed it as one of the worst films of 1990. Paramount Television launched Star Trek: The Next Generation into first-run syndication in 1987, where it flourished for 178 episodes over 7 seasons. As the Star Trek films with the original cast has ceased production, Paramount was ready for the Next Generation cast to make the leap to the cinematic universe. The zeal to have the Next Generation film in theaters shortly after the series finale necessitated starting the film before the series had wrapped. The cast and crew did double duty for 12 days on 2 separate sound stages, filming both the series and the feature film. Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, LeVar Burton, and Brent Spiner led the TV cast lineup. This film also featured some cast members from the original series as well. The Next Generation cast starred in 3 additional theatrical films, the last one landing in 2002. The series X-Files ran on Fox for 9 seasons starting in 1993. The series revolved around FBI special agents Mulder and Scully, played by David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson, as they investigated unsolved cases involving paranormal phenomena. In the middle of the successful run on TV, the X-Files Fight the Future arrived at local cinemas. Martin Landau and Blythe Danner added support to the TV cast. This 1998 film, which left critics unimpressed, was moderately successful in the US, but was a big hit with international audiences. In 2008, 6 years after the series cancellation, Mulder and Scully returned to theaters in X-Files: I Want to Believe. Unfortunately, they could not find enough believers. Once again, reviews were mixed, and the US box office was disappointing. 16 new episodes of the series aired on Fox between 2016 and 2018 with the original stars. The futuristic space western Firefly premiered on the Fox network in September 2002. It hovered near the bottom of the ratings, and it was canceled after 11 episodes aired. But strong DVD sales and large fan campaigns for the short-lived series led to a big screen version in 2005 entitled Serenity, with the original cast led by Nathan Fillion. Praise from the critics did not translate into big box office numbers for this Universal film directed by Joss Whedon. In 2004, the neo-noir mystery teen drama Veronica Mars, starring Kristen Bell, debuted. Its 3-year run on UPN and then the CW attracted positive reviews, low ratings, and a loyal cult following. 7 years after its cancellation, with a $6 million budget courtesy of a then record-setting Kickstarter campaign, the film Veronica Mars, directed by Rob Thomas and starring the original cast, debuted in theaters. In 2019, Bell starred in a 9-episode 4th season that streamed on Hulu. The TV series Our Miss Brooks made its way to a theater near you in 1956, shortly after the series cancellation. The film, directed by Al Lewis, about the sardonic schoolteacher, starred the TV cast with Eve Arden in the title role. The film ignored the storylines from the series and started from scratch. Interestingly, the TV series had been based on the radio show, which ran concurrently with the TV show with the same cast. The radio series actually continued to air after the series ended for 1 year. Let's take a quick look at some cable TV series that went to the movies. Sarah Jessica Parker and the original cast of the HBO series Sex and the City made the move to the cinema for the 2008 film, also titled Sex and the City, and directed by Michael Patrick King. A sequel, aptly titled Sex and the City 2, followed in 2010, and it was also directed by King. HBO was also home to Entourage, the comedy drama that aired for 8 seasons, ending in 2011. In 2015, the ensemble cast starred in the theatrical film Entourage, the movie, directed by Doug Ellin. It didn't appeal to critics or moviegoers. And then there are the Disney Channel teen sitcoms that were so popular in the 2000s. Lizzie McGuire, starring Hilary Duff, jumped to the silver screen in 2003 with the Lizzie McGuire movie. Miley Cyrus and her Hannah Montana series co-stars spent time on theater screens in 2009 with the film Hannah Montana the Movie. The soundtrack to that film was a #1 platinum-selling album. Theatrical features starring TV casts have been around as long as TV. In most cases, people stayed home to presumably watch more TV. In some cases, the films proved to be a fun way to enjoy our favorite classic TV characters in another setting on a bigger canvas. Well, how about you? Are there any films based on your favorite TV shows that you enjoy? Let me know in the comments. Also, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I want to thank you so much for watching. This has been Boss City Brian wishing you many blessings. And until next time, I'll be dancing in the street. Bye for now.